am intelligent and creative. I am bold and determined. I rely on teamwork, and I am accountable. I am a competitor who will defend my territory. I love to play and will never give up. I am committed for life because I am a Raven.
Welcome to the Thursday Night Live Athletics Town Hall. It's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Ottawa. Beautiful sunny day in the nation's capital, and we're delighted you could join us from wherever you are, and hope you can tune in every month as we shine a spotlight on the high-impact players and topics relevant to Carleton Athletics and the broader Carleton community, and perhaps most importantly, to support student athletic excellence. The Town Hall edition to follow will feature a coaches circle, a halftime celebration, an update from the top, and a welcome, and you could say welcome back, from a very special guest. We will also hear from our MC for the program, fellow alumni and varsity athlete, Jeff Morris. Jeff is a proud grad and former Carleton athlete kicker for the Carleton football team from 1982 to 1986. He was also the all-time leading scorer in Ravens history from 85 to 2017. And after graduating from Carleton, he played semi-pro football for many years in the United States, and his professional life in sports media worked in Dallas, Denver, Nashville, and Seattle for such sports outlets as ESPN.com and Fox Sports Radio. Jeff also owns a local media company and is the leader of a Carleton football podcast, so we are indeed in very good hands with Jeff, and thank you, Jeff, for joining us. Lastly, a couple of housekeeping items to consider. We do have a robust launch schedule here for the series, and the program features a chat for your questions. Representatives in the backgrounds and the webinar will be happy to help you there, and perhaps share your feedback for the show. In addition, it's important to note the program is being recorded and will be posted to watch, rewatch, or share with friends later. Also important to note the location of our campus. Carleton University acknowledges the location of its campus on the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation. Now, without further ado, we'll switch to a very familiar face around campus for an official welcome by Jennifer Brenning, the esteemed leader, Assistant Vice President, Recreation and Athletics. Jennifer is celebrating nearly 16 years at the helm, and we're very honored to have her here. Jennifer, as we now bring you live onto screen, we look forward to your updates, and as they say, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Trevor, and the advancement team for organizing this event. And good evening. Thank you so very much for joining us. I recognize that a year of Zoom calls could be very tiresome, so I'm very thankful that you have taken the time to join us. It has been a roller coaster year with opening and closing and reopening. A year ago on Monday, we were celebrating the success of our basketball teams as we hosted the men's and women's basketball championship at TD Place. What a year it's been. In September, we launched our newsletter, The Journey's Back, in our attempt to keep you up to date. And we highlighted some of our fall successes in the January edition. And I want to note that we went through the 2020 academic year and season without a single case of COVID-19 or outbreak coming from our programs and services. So a pretty remarkable accomplishment. I also want to say a big thank you for the success of Giving Tuesday. We were able to raise close to $500,000 in support of our varsity programs. Amazing support of our student athletes, given the hardships facing so many industries and with so many people in need. After the stay-at-home order, we reopened again on February 17th. And I was not sure how the community would respond, given that we were at home for those 7 weeks. And it was incredible to see the many people back working out, training, and playing. It is easy to stay closed, and it is incredibly hard to stay open. But it is so important that we open for the physical and mental health of our community. I'll give you an example. We opened summer camp registration on February 19th, and by noon of that day, we were 70% sold out, demonstrating the confidence of our community in our programs, as well as this pent-up demand for activity. It is a full credit to our full-time, part-time staff and coaches and our amazing team. They are our frontline workers. We are looking ahead in optimism as the country ramps up our vaccinations. There is hope. We are planning to run our March break and summer camp program, March break being now in April. We are hoping to remain in orange, although there's a threat of others red, but we're hoping that we stay orange at least and maybe move in a different color in the summer. The OUA and RSAQ are planning for a return to play in the fall of 2021. We're looking at compressed schedules. We're looking at potentially later start dates, realignments where we're not traveling overnight, and perhaps fewer games. But we are planning to bring sport back. That's a commitment by our OUA colleagues and RSEQ. Youth sports is also in discussion about the delivery of national championships in the fall, reviewing their dates and timelines in relation to the conference's later dates and start dates. And we are very excited to be hosting the Youth Sport Men's Soccer Nationals in November. So we're very excited to be hosting that event. Carleton University is also looking ahead to the fall. We'll be delivering academic program in the spring, summer online, but the plan is to have academic program delivery in the fall in person. There may be some hybrid model of large classes online, smaller classes in person, but that is the plan. The president is really optimistic now about the fall. The university also launched their new strategic integrated plan, Shape the Future, striving to share knowledge, connect with the community, and for wellness and sustainability. As part of that plan, the department is moving forward with the design and concepts of a future wellness hub, which would include a new aquatic facility. Given the age of our existing swimming pool, which is built in 1974 and it's at end of life. So we're pretty excited about that project and we'll be looking for partners to build that facility. The Sprott School of Business will be moving into its new home in the fall in the new spectacular state-of-the-art nickel building. And engineering is launching a new building as well. It's the new Engineering Design Center, which will provide fourth year's capstone project students collaborative space to build their capstone projects. I want to thank you once again for tuning in and supporting the Carleton Ravens and athletics. Enjoy the next hour. And I now have the distinct pleasure of introducing a very special guest who really doesn't need an introduction at all. He was inducted into the Carleton Athletics Hall of Fame in the fall. He is Carleton Athletics, none other than our very own Paul Armstrong. Paul?
Well, hi, Jennifer. Thanks so much for having me on. And like all of us, I am really missing watching our Ravens teams play this year. Well, I guess the theme today is recruiting, and some of the coaches will be talking about that and return to play, of course. And they've asked me to say a few words on recruiting from an historical perspective as coach of both the women's basketball team, the Robins, A Robins, in the early 80s, and of course the men's team from the late 80s to the late 90s. Recruiting rules were pretty restrictive certainly back when I was coaching. And then of course, recruiting budgets were restrictive as well. There were no athletic awards or scholarships and no letters of intent. You couldn't hire a recruit to work on campus until school has actually started, and they weren't allowed to train with you in the summer, although you could bring them in for an one official visit and maybe have them scrimmage with the local guys in town. Later on, our athletes were granted early registration privileges, and our varsity teams were allotted a few residence room to guarantee to our top recruits, which was a big help at the time. Now, our recruiting process, well, we were basically focused on Ottawa and Eastern Ontario athletes, as recruiting budgets, of course, were small, and Carleton was still very much a commuter school. There was very little youth clubs like you see today in all the sports. So you really had to focus your recruiting on the 10 to 12 week season, whatever sports you were in. And of course, while you were focusing on recruiting, you're also in the middle of your own season. To help with our recruiting, though, we added for the men's team, we added the high school tournament. I know the women's did later on as well. And not only to get local teams into the Ravens' nest, but also get the teams starting to get teams in from the GTA as well. The recruiting process from Carleton in the early years had, I think, an extra challenge, especially for our women's teams, that we don't have a phys ed program. And many of the top athletes of the day, and I think many women, were still gravitating to those programs. So, what's it like today? Well, it's incredible today, and our rookies are so well supported right from the start. First and foremost, resources enable our coaches to recruit across the country. We're not a commuter school anymore. We're going right across the nation, of course, right around the world. And the recruits can come in, of course, and visit our campus. And these new rules and processes have helped really to enhance the experience of our new players. Several of our coaches are full-time, and some have full-time assistants even, who can help all recruits with early registration and residence, athletic awards and scholarships, summer employment, summer team workouts, and academic and career mentorship opportunities, all before school begins in the fall. It's wonderful to see our many new Ravens on campus in the summer months, perhaps working one of our summer camps by day and training with their teammates at night or the early morning. It's this wonderful investment in our players at such an early stage, to me, that sets the table for an exceptional varsity experience for our athletes here at Carleton. Now, Trevor asked me for a quick recruiting story, so a cautionary tale for our current coaches they may want to avoid. In '87, we had our best recruiting class ever, and our final recruited committer was this guy, Peter Reuter, a big center who had lots of interests across the country. So he commits on the phone and say, let's go to lunch to celebrate. After a great lunch, I go to the cash register to pay the check, only to realize I had forgotten my wallet. So here I was having to come back to the table to sheepishly ask this 5-star recruit to pay for our meals. Now it all worked out fine, but I'm thinking now I'm just glad it wasn't Taffy I was meeting with during his rookie year, as he definitely would have had me doing the dishes that night. So coaches, check your wallets before heading out to meet recruits. Allow me to finish by saying I'm very proud of Carleton's athlete-centered approach to recruiting our incoming rookies, and everyone from the coaches to Jennifer and her staff to other departments on campus and right up to our senior men. They're all on board to create the best experience possible for our Ravens athletes. It's a huge reason why I continue to support our Ravens teams as a fan and as a donor. Thank you, Jennifer, for allowing me to say a few words, and best of luck to all our teams in recruiting and your plans to return to play this fall. I'll pass things on now to my good friend, Jeff Morris. Thanks, gang.
Sorry about that. I was muted. Paul, I'm glad you didn't tell the story of when I was Rodney the Raven at the basketball games when you were coaching. I was playing football. I think I might be the only Rodney the Raven that ever got a technical foul. So
I remember that. Good one.
Glad you're still speaking to me. First up, we're going to talk to Taffy Charles, the men's basketball coach. And Taffy, I remember almost 20 years ago, I was working for ESPN.com, and I gave a little shout out. I wrote an NHL column. I gave a little shout out for the Ravens after they won a national championship, and you sent me an email. And I was so surprised to get an email that somebody from Carleton's basketball program had seen it. But here we are nearly a generation later, and the team is still at the top. And you know, you've taken over as the head coach of the men's program. What was it like for you personally to transition into the men's program from the success you had with the women?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, no, I forgot about that. That actually, now that you mentioned that, I'm like, oh yeah, that was such a long time ago. Yeah, you know, obviously it was a great, you know, it was an interesting year last year, transitioning from, you know, my former role as the women's basketball coach to the men's basketball coach. Obviously, I was lucky that they've allowed me to, you know, take over that fine tradition and try and keep up to the same standards that he was able to do for X amount of years. And, you know, I think it's it was quite the challenge. You know, obviously the expectations are super high. You know, again, at the end of last year, I guess it's been a year a couple of days ago that we won a championship, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, I think I was just more relieved than anything else. So it was quite the trying year, just based on all the circumstances and what was expected of us, especially in Ottawa. But again, I mean, it's quite a challenge. Really look forward to kind of doing it again. I think, the one thing about being a rookie coach, and I think I was a rookie coach back, even though I had a lot of experience, but rookie coach back with coaching the men's team. I wanted to kind of learn from those mistakes that I had in my first year, and there was many of them, and kind of right the ship. And unfortunately, you have been set back a little bit by what has happened this past year. But looking forward to this 2021-22 and getting back out there on the court.
It's an emotional thing to win a national championship, obviously, and you've got that year off. But how do you harness that emotion and keep the momentum going into the next season that you guys are playing?
Yeah, you know what? Again, it's been difficult, but we were reflecting as a coaching staff. It's just thank God we won. Imagine losing and having to wait 2 years to get back at it. So it's so I kind of look at it from that way. It would have been worse if we had actually lost and then trying to redeem ourselves from probably getting there again and trying to right the ship. But inevitably, I think again, the kids are our program has some high level players, and trying to kind of remind them that every one of our players they really have an aspiration to go pro, and taking this year to kind of do whatever you can while people are maybe not have those opportunities. And we've been lucky, although we've been lucky to get in the gym, and I would say our colleagues, based on what I've known in the rest of Canada, by far we've thanks for recreation athletics and Jen's leadership, we've been in the gym more than anybody else. So just trying to take that as advantage as much as we possibly can. Not exactly the kind of training environment that we were looking for, but at the end of the day, we're happy to be in the gym, and again, we're just going to kind of stay focused, and when we're back on the court, hopefully be in a place where we can win a national championship again.
And one last question, Taffy. Some of your players had a really great chance. They got to play in the CEBL, the Canadian Elite Basketball League. How will that experience help these players that got to play, and what can they bring back to the team when they return to the Ravens?
Well, I think, again, I mean, obviously it's done in the summer, so it is professional, but for a lot of the pros, it's kind of like their summer job, right? So but in every case, just being able to have our guys, Lloyd's one of the guys that was returning, in 2021-22 to be able to play in that, just gives him the confidence to know that he can, play at that level, and obviously understand a little bit about the size, speed of some of the guys and the talent level that you may not necessarily see on a daily basis. So, although it was a short and abbreviated last summer, again, I think hopefully when they're back in this summer, have more of a regular or more of a season, and hopefully take those lessons as well to and then bring it back for our team in 21-22.
Okay, we'll switch gears over to David Luong, the women's rugby coach. David, your sport is different than the others because of the type of contact, the frequency of contact, yet we're in a social distance world. How have you been able to work as a team as you prepare for the next season when you get to play?
I think we've just been a lot more creative in what we're doing right now. So obviously minding COVID social distancing rules. We focus a lot on some of the core skills, pass catch, where we're allowed to kind of stay distance, and then to increase the difficulty of the drills or even replicate some game stuff. We're out there using pool noodles or foam swords just to keep the distance, but allow us to kind of simulate what you would see against a defense.
One of the things rugby's known for is the fellowship, the camaraderie, keeping your team close together as friends and in almost as sisters in this case. One of the events you guys had in November was a run for breast cancer. I believe it was one of your players, Taylor Reid's mom, had cancer, and the team got together to do a run. Things like that, where the team can get together and bond and do something away from the game. How important is that for your program?
Oh, it's definitely very important. For the program, we stress a lot of our team culture and the characters, and just having people sort of participate in something like that speaks volumes to all their characters. Considering this was something that just sort of snowballed from Taylor, sharing this news with the team and saying she wanted to do something, to a few teammates then wanting to join in, and then all of a sudden, culminating into sort of a larger campaign for the entire month. So definitely something great for the team.
During the season, the team struggled a little bit in the 2019 season, but really put it together in the playoffs, had a great run, a 59-5 win over McGill and a 50-24 win over Montreal to finish the season. It really turned it around. How are you still able to build from the momentum that you got from that such a strong finish in 2019?
Yeah, it was a really good, strong finish. I think those that are still on the team, they wish that they could have progressed a little higher before the sort of finish there. You think with the way the league has been structured, the RCQ is probably one of the toughest leagues for women's rugby right now. If you look at last year's nationals, 1 and first place and third place were RCQ, 1 and 2 in the RCQ. So I think the team is looking forward to that, opportunity to face those teams again in the coming year, knowing that when we do defeat them, that we have that good chance of being higher come nationals.
Okay, Taffy and David, thanks very much for joining us for this coaches circle, and we'll go back to Trevor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. Absolutely fascinating stuff. It's always great to hear the insight of the coaches and what they're up to. And we're so thankful for their efforts of all of our coaches here for all that they're managing to accomplish during these clearly, very trying times. We've got a couple coaches that are just still trying to connect. So we'll circle back to the next circle after what we're now about to do is we're about to celebrate with our halftime celebration, which is next on deck here. This is the halftime celebration is where we'll focus monthly on the outstanding efforts and achievements of our star athletes. Leading the segment today will be Carleton Athletics marketing guru Cheryl Hunt, who is celebrating over 20 years in sports marketing and the last 8 as Assistant Director, Marketing and Brand Strategy for Carleton Athletics. Cheryl was a key driver in the implementation of esports at Carleton and in the Canadian youth sports scene. We're excited she can share her insights in this global phenomenon, which is quite literally sitting on a launch pad for explosive growth in Canada. Cheryl, welcome to the program. As I said to Jen, the floor is yours.
Those are my favorite floors. Thanks, Trevor. So yeah, I've been invited here today to talk about esports. I think generally speaking, what most people are wondering is what is esports as opposed to video gaming? So esports would be competitive, organized video gaming that essentially mainstreams gaming, media, pop culture, and of course, money all together. So competitors from different teams or leagues face off the same games that are popular with the at-home gamers. And these games are viewed on streaming platforms such as Twitch. Well, 91% of them are on Twitch. So I'd say streaming platforms like Twitch, yes. Oftentimes, I guess the other question that I come across is versions of what's the big deal about esports anyway? Why is everybody talking about it? So basically, esports came on, the popularity of it sort of came on like a tidal wave. Right now, experts predict that esports will eclipse traditional sport, or what they refer to as T-sports, within the next couple of years. Currently, there's just under 500 million active viewers of esports globally, and that's predicted to reach over 800 million by 2024. To put that into context, basketball as a sport has 825 million viewers globally. So esports is predicted to inch up on a popular sport like basketball shortly. In terms of revenue, it's already a $1.7 billion industry, and experts predict that it'll reach as high, a lot of experts have different predictions, as $5.5 billion by 2024. So in an ironic twist, from our interest in it, the millennial / Gen Z age group, the ticketing community or industry for the last few years has been confounded about why we can't bring them out to live events, because they're preferring to stay home and watch on 1, 2, or 3 different screens. But they will pay to pack arenas like the Barclays Center and the Rogers Center to watch that which is online live. But we can't get them. They want to watch what's live online and what's online live. So, go figure. So basically that brings us to what's Carleton's involvement with eSport, and why did we get involved with it? Well, obviously we've mentioned the tidal wave and all the things going on with it. So it sounds like something big and we wanted to be involved. We found out we had a club on campus with about 1,500 student members, which is almost double our total number of athletes. So it's significant. And they were performing pretty well in terms of their competitions. So we started to meet with them bi-weekly. And we knew we wanted to do something together. They wanted to compete as Ravens. I wanted to sort of rub Buddha's tummy or become part of this tidal wave. So we were meeting and trying to come up with small ways to work together. And then COVID. So I guess if you're going to take a silver lining from something like COVID, it gave us the space and the time, although we had to act quickly, to figure out how we were going to work together. With the cancellation of traditional varsity sport, we felt really strongly that we still wanted our students, especially the ones that are online learning and our first year students, to be able to cheer for the Ravens and have that sense of school spirit instilled in them. And for the student athletes, the people competing on esports, it would give them an opportunity we don't have any programming here in terms of faculty for esports like some of the schools do. So it'd give them an opportunity to get experience in real world experience in broadcast, website design, logo design in this case, and all that sort of thing. So it was ticking a lot of boxes. So then all we had to do was look for a league to join. But then there was no league to join. Esports is traditionally very tournament based and not necessarily very regionally competitive. And like I said, we wanted to have the cheer for the Ravens situation. So when we found out there wasn't one, we created one. Because like I said, because of COVID, we had the time and the space to do so. So we leveraged the expertise from our student group, who are an insanely talented group of students. We managed to get the league off the ground in only a number of months. Even though, like I say, we came across a few hurdles, like the leagues, for example, usually are university sport. We only compete against other universities, whereas in the esports space, colleges are kind of leading the way. So we had to make sure they were included, and we had to make sure it was regionally competitive and all these things. But we went ahead and we created the OPSE, which stands for Ottawa Post-Secondary Esports League. And I'll roll it to the video now if we could.
Welcome to the official reveal of Ontario Post-Secondary Esports. OPSE will take collegiate esports in Ontario to the next level. By being Ontario's first ever seasonal league, we aim to introduce esports into each post-secondary institution's official athletic programming. OPSE will allow each school to engage with their student body like never before. Starting this August, universities and colleges across Ontario will be able to compete in the following 4 game titles: Hearthstone, League of Legends, Overwatch, and Rocket League. The seasonal portion of the league consists of 3 different stages: preseason, regular season, and playoffs. In preseason, schools will play exhibition matches as they build their team rosters and develop their best talent. In October, when the regular season begins, teams will compete once a week in an online environment. Throughout the season, OPSE's students and volunteers will highlight the very best in individual talent and team play. Our website will be covering all the action, including schedules, standings, and stories. You'll be able to watch schools compete live during our weekly broadcasts for each title.
Team up for now as the rally comes out from Lupon. Self-destruction connects on aboard Jacklorp.
Finally, after concluding the regular season in February, teams will be seeded into the OPSE playoffs. Teams will then compete for their share of $24,000 in scholarships, but only one team will be crowned the inaugural champions of the league.
This is in the eyes of Western Ontario. What a game! What a comeback!
OPSE is dedicated to providing students with opportunities to transform their skills and passion in esports into careers. Support the evolving needs of your growing student body and become a trailblazer in the world of collegiate esports. Visit opsesports.ca to learn more.
Thanks very much for that. So also, just to close off, I would like you to sort of brag about our Raven performance in terms of we've entered all 4 titles. And our performance in our inaugural year has been, I think, pretty impressive. We finished the regular season first place in Hearthstone, second place in Overwatch, third place in Rocket League, and 5th in the League of Legends. Currently, the league is in the middle of the playoff season. And so in case anybody has an interest in checking us out, the Ravens are in semi-final competition on March 16th. We're in semi-final play in the Overwatch title, and on the 17th for Hearthstone. And in order to watch, you can just go to the website they just listed. It's opsesports.ca, and it will guide you through. And you can check it out on Twitch and see what you think. And from here, I'm going to throw it back over to Mr. Morris.
Thanks very much, Cheryl. And Steve Samara, the Carleton football coach, you're from the same era as I was. Esports in our day was Galaga. I was Space Fighter Jeff, of course, and then we'd play Temco Bowl and things like that. So it sure has evolved and gone a long way. Coach, welcome to the Coach's Circle. Glad you could make it. I'll start out by saying one thing. Tanner DeYoung on our football podcast, the quarterback, he's going into his 5th year. He said that he wanted to take advantage of the year off and learn and improve as much as he could to make his 5th year that much better. As a team, how have you been able to kind of harness that year off and prepare and make it a positive thing heading into the 21 season?
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's opportunities that you can take advantage of. And, this year, any small victory is a big victory, to be honest with you. And I think Tanner is exemplary of that. He's watched so much film. He's had an opportunity in the rare occasions that we have been able to get out on the field and throw the ball around a bit. And he's really trying to improve his knowledge, improve his understanding of defenses, understanding, obviously it's a bit of a different offense that he's playing in now. So he's trying to get caught up to speed on that as well.
And it's a new offense this year as you're taking over, not only as the head coach, but you're also going to take over offensive coordinator duties. So has that extra year given, all 12 guys on the offense and the guys on the depth chart a chance to really absorb and learn this offense instead of kind of flying on the go?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It would have been great to have your whole team here to be able to, implement it as you go along. But I think we've kind of taken a slow pace. We've really evaluated our talent, what our guys can do well, and what they need. Our strengths are, and that's how we're building the offense. And when you think of a guy like Tanner, you think of he's got a big arm, so let's take advantage of that. We have a good offensive line, so we want to be able to run the ball as well, and we found some speed at receiver. So when you start to put those things together, that kind of starts to put the pieces together for your offense for sure.
One thing that's really exciting about the team this year is that, probably with the exception of your first recruiting class, 2013, this year coming up, or 2020, may have been the best ever recruiting class at Carleton, especially at the quarterback position. So can you tell us a little bit about how the recruiting has gone and some of the promising new stars we're going to see playing for the Ravens?
Yeah, for sure, Jeff. It has been a you know, I must say, one of the craziest things that has gone on is the 2020 recruits are being mashed in together with the 2021 recruits as we move forward into our 2022 recruiting. So, you know, the last time you're officially on the field is in 2019, but the time we kick off in 2021, we'll have already been talking about our 2022 classes. I can say it's definitely been different. When you talk about the quarterback play and the quarterback position, I think the nicest thing that we've been able to do is bring in some guys that are going to be able to compete. And, you know, competition breeds competition. And, you know, we know Tanner, being a fifth-year guy, he's obviously got the leg up, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't have a drop-off going forward after that. And we brought in, right now we have five quarterbacks behind Tanner, and all of them are competing. They're excited to compete, and each one brings a little bit of a different skill set. And it's going to be, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how to say it, but I'm not sure where the chips are going to fall at the end of this. It's and that's what makes it so exciting. You know, once we finally get a chance to get back on the field and see them compete, it's going to be great.
It'll be an exciting 2021 season for sure. And, you know, I speaking on behalf of the alumni, we can't wait to see the team back in action. We're going to switch gears a little bit and go back to the hard court. Danny Sinclair, the coach of the women's basketball team, is with us. And Danny, you might be in the most difficult position of all the coaches because you came in as an interim coach and then the pandemic started. And so you have not had an actual season. So how have you managed to get to know your athletes, both as players and as people during this year?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. It's been a different introduction to the program for sure, but you know, I've been lucky. I have previous relationship with Taffy and with Dave Smart in the position he's in. I have quite a bit of guidance, and in some respects, I think we all recognize the challenges that we've all faced, but particularly the athletes have faced in their season being canceled. It's actually been a bit of a blessing for me as a coach because it's provided space to cultivate some of those relationships with athletes. I mean, I can be a demanding coach, and I mean, any coach can be that way. And I think it's given me a chance to develop some trust with them, and hopefully will be helpful moving forward as we start to compete next season.
Now the things are opening up a little bit. You've got a little bit more freedom than you had probably in November, December, January. The team's finally coming together. Is your focus on coach with them? Is it more on fundamentals because they can't be in a group as much, or are you able to implement some system and get them working some 5-on-5?
Yeah, we can do a little bit. I mean, it's not to the extent that obviously we would like. It's hard for me still to get a great grasp of who would be in a, like, who's going to be in our starting group or who's going to play major minutes. Like, I think some of our veterans have established themselves, but we have, you know, don't have the same numbers as football, but you know, we're in the same boat where we have 2 recruiting classes coming in almost at once, a double cohort. So it's a lot of fundamental work, a little bit of system work, because there is a lot of complexity to what we do. And I think there's always space for culture, and we're trying to drive a lot of that home. So not to the extent that we would like, but still lots of variety there for us to get to.
Now, it's been a little bit of a challenge this year with no high school ball and no club ball. How have you overcome these obstacles as far as recruiting goes this year?
It's for us, the top kids. we knew who we wanted in that group, and we were able to go after them. It's kind of that next group down that's challenging. It's particularly challenging for them. We we were lucky to have commitments from some of those top players. So we have 4 girls coming in next year. But it's becoming challenging for that next class, the 2022 class. But things are opening up a little bit. I was able to get out, we can't speak to the athletes, but we can go observe practice. And there are some club programs that are starting to have practice. So it's definitely a challenge, but hoping that as things start to open up through the spring and summer, that we'll be able to get out and watch. And for me, particularly being new to the community, I want that opportunity to get out there and start to meet more and more people and just be out, get our program out in the community again.
Switching gears over to soccer, Kwesi Loney is with us, and he's going to talk about the men's team and the women's team. First, Kwesi, the men's team, you're coming off a great 2019 season. You proved that a national championship is within reach at Carleton. What steps have you been able to take this school year to move forward? Not stand still, but not just exist as you can, but really take the next steps to go forward.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I mean, it's been great for us in the sense that the majority of our roster is from Ottawa. So that has allowed us to stay close together, still maintain training. And even within this pandemic, I think soccer is probably the closest to returning to full play. So we are, in training sessions, very close to, a regular training session, which has been fantastic for the players' physical and mental health. It's been very important for their development and just getting to know each other and just, staying connected and staying ambitious as we do have our sights on, provincial titles as well as national titles moving forward.
Now, one exciting thing that happened this past year, you've had 3 players from the Ravens that were selected in the Canadian Premier League draft. And how does that impact the program when you have, the professional Canadian League drafting players from the Ravens?
Yeah, I think it's been really exciting, not just for the players who were drafted, but just for our program. And I think the city in general. I think what it's showing now is that, there's a local pathway for Canadian players to get to the pro level. And then in particular for our players, we actually had 2 players that were drafted in 2019 as well, but because of the pandemic, they were not able to go out and represent their teams. So this year it's great that we have 3. One was actually drafted to the local, Ottawa Athletico team. So that was a great, proud moment for that player. And then 2 of our other players one's heading out east and the other one's heading to Winnipeg. So it's been a tremendous accomplishment for the program. Definitely lifts our profile, not just within our province, but across the country. And it definitely assists with recruiting, right? We are now attracting different types of players that, over the past 10 years, you may not have been able to attract before, but now we are now drawing a much deeper depth of player from all corners of our country.
And looking at the women's team, they had a really strong finish in 2019, but it's been almost a year and a half since the team has played. So how hungry is the women's team to get back and kind of build on the momentum that they had at the end of the last season that they played?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a bit of a disappointment that they weren't able to get back on the field and compete immediately, particularly after the year we had in 2019. But since that time, I could tell you between the years of 2020 and moving to 2021, we will have a total of 15 new recruits coming into our program. And they're coming from all across the country, which is fantastic. So there's definitely a buzz around what's to come within our women's program. We're going to see a young group, very hungry, looking to take the program another step forward.
Now you've got some great new players coming into the program. You've got Maya Van Haster from Waterdown, Ontario. She's a defender. You've got Julia McDonald from Nova Scotia, from their provincial team, a goalkeeper, and midfielder Sierra Palermo from Guelph. All 3 come to the Ravens with great soccer pedigrees and great backgrounds. So how are some of these players going to fit in and impact the team both immediately and long term?
Well, I mean, the thing we always look to focus on when we are recruiting players is how they're going to impact our environment, right? We want to look at the culture that we're trying to build. We want to look at the competitiveness of our program and just ensuring that they fit the mold and philosophy of what we're trying to accomplish. So these 3 players, with the pedigree that they have, I mean, they're already coming from a successful environment. We hope that they're looking to bring that here to our program as well. And, you know, like anything else, we want that to be infectious and that to spread amongst all the other players who we have now currently, and the players we are looking to bring in the upcoming years as well.
Okay, we'll move into the ice house now. We'll talk about the hockey teams. Pierre Alain is with us, the Ravens women's hockey coach. The team posted some really big wins in the 2019-2020 season. And again, how were you able to keep moving forward? The team was improving, but hockey's a little bit different because ice time is so limited compared to some of the other sports where a lot of the work is in the gym. How have you been able to kind of keep the players engaged and move forward, Pierre?
We're very fortunate to have 3 on ice practices, and the girls also working with Nick Westcott off ice. But to be quite frank, like we're fortunate because I've spoke with our colleagues in the RSEQ, and the last time they were on the ice was early November. So I told the players, like, we got to take advantage of this, and let's improve. Let's work on skills. Let's work on even team cohesion, because we've been doing some tactics and stuff on the ice that will prepare the team for next year with 8 new players in the lineup this year, and 8 coming next year. So we're going to have a young team, but very exciting. And yes, I agree with you. Milestone last year, we've beat McGill Powerhouse first time in regulation in the history of the program. Same with Montreal. We've beat them in overtime. That was the first ever win against Montreal in overtime, and also beat number 1 in the country, Concordia. So yeah, very excited for the upcoming season.
I want to talk about, we've touched on recruiting with the other coaches, and again, wins and success on the ice makes it a lot easier to attract good players, but when you've got players you're recruiting that aren't active, it makes it difficult. But we understand you have a player from the national team in France that's coming to Carleton, who's a blue chip recruit. How did that all come about?
I've known the head coach of the national French team for years, and we've been in connection for a while. And we were speaking this past summer, and he told me about a couple of his players. Some are going south, but he had a D available, and she was interested to come and play in Canada, and she wants to learn English. And Ottawa City was one of her plays that she wanted to stop and talk about. So we had good talks with her, and actually she's committed, and we're very excited to have her. She's 18, young, but with a lot of potential. And the French team, they're on the verge to make the big group and play at Worlds in Halifax in the next year. So they have qualifications this summer. At the end of the summer. So we're very happy to have a player that is like pushing the pace, and she will push the pace with our actual players.
And you talked about the high number of freshmen and sophomores you're going to have on your team, or players getting on the ice for the first time. But as far as veteran leadership, some of the players that were around for the end of the last season you played must be pretty excited and pretty hungry to get back on the ice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have great leadership on those who's been with us for years. So we have 5 third years that are ready to take over and lead a young group for next season.
Okay, and we'll kick things over to Sean Van Allen, the men's hockey coach. Vanner, good to hear your voice. The team's had a good season. The team had a really good season in 2019-20, but this year's there's no season. So like we asked Pierre, how do you keep moving forward in a year like this, especially when ice time has been so limited?
Well, Jeff,
to hear your voice again. How we move forward with this is we focus on the players. We focus on their individual skills, whether it's their shot, puck handling. Lately, we've really focused in on their skating ability, heavy work on the crossovers, and talking to them a little bit too about the mental side of the game. This is an opportunity to be mentally stronger moving ahead. So if we're down in the third period or something doesn't go our way, this is just a way to be stronger and fight through it. If we can fight through a pandemic, then we can fight through a lot of other things that will be easier for us.
You have, we've been talking about recruiting a lot. You have a local product coming in Paul Larrabee, a guy that people who follow local hockey in Ottawa would know. He played for the Canada Lasers in the CCHL. He also spent a couple of years with the Kingston Frontenacs in the OHL. What can you tell him about him, and what can you tell him about some of the other recruits you have coming in for next season?
Well, when I watched Paul, first thing I noticed him was how he took faceoffs and how competitive he was. And we watched them play Carleton Place last year, and they were on the short end of the stick. They got 4 goals scored against them really early. I think they ended up losing 6-7-1. But what I noticed is his character. He never changed. He didn't give up. He fought hard. Was really competitive. We liked how he took the puck to the net, and we reached out to some other people who they really liked him and they recommended him. And they said it was a good get for us to get him. And he's playing in Renfrew right now, working on his skills, and we think he's going to be a huge asset to our team. But Jeff, the hard part for us is when we're recruiting, it's against not just youth sports, it's against pro hockey. And when we reach out to these guys, we tell them you can go to pro hockey, but it's a lot easier going to pro hockey when you have a degree in your hand. There's a lot less pressure and you don't have to worry about going to school after. So we've talked to a lot of kids. We've watched a lot of games here lately. And we are talking to a lot of kids, and we're looking for character and guys who are looking to get better and go to pro hockey.
And that's one thing that, that seems to be a common theme we've talked about tonight. You look at the football team, only Calgary and Laval have had more players drafted into the CFL in the last 4 years than Carleton. We've got pro players emerging in Canada from our soccer program, and you've got a number of guys playing minor league hockey out of Carleton. And I believe when you played in Anaheim, you probably played with Steve Ruchin. He jumped right from Canadian University Hockey into the NHL, and so it must be easier to recruit guys, or it must be more enticing for them to come to a program like Carleton when they know that there are stepping stones ahead.
Yeah, we tell them we've got good connections in pro hockey. Mark Kavlin, another one of our coaches, has got outstanding contacts in Europe, so that really helps. And you look at our team, like Alex Boivin is playing on a pro team in France. We just lost Darian Skio. He left here probably a few weeks ago. He turned pro and is playing down in Indianapolis. And he's getting a real opportunity to show what he can do as a pro. And if you looked over the last number of years, we've probably got 19 guys playing over in Europe in pro hockey, which is, pretty impressive for a program that is still fairly new. Yeah, we're still recruiting, but I'm really happy for our guys when they get an opportunity to go to pro and have a real chance to have a good career.
Okay, thanks, Vanner, and thanks to all the other coaches for joining us on the Coaches Circle. It's going to be a great 2021-2022 school year. Can't wait for sports to start again. Trevor, let's go back to you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Great job and well done, everyone. This was fun. And, as we reach for the top of the hour here, we'd like to thank all of our guests and speakers for joining us for this monumental launch, and mostly you, our attendees, who shared your valuable time to tune in today. We are indeed feeling very optimistic, hopeful, celebratory, all the good things for 2020, 2021. And we do hope to see you again as we delve into exciting new topics with various Carleton leaders in the sports arena, with the next topic being, as you can see here, the big idea. Curious what the big idea is? We hope so. And please keep engaged and look for more promotion insight into that soon for the Big Idea Show coming on April the 8th. We look forward to seeing you again in April. So be good, be kind, and be well. And so long, everyone.